I think his wife and her health, and working at a place that like he could devote more time to her, which is like so odd at the time, but so like it's inspiring now.
He's just forward thinking. That's it. He's thinking like us.
He made a huge decision, and he went with it, which is like awesome. But anyway, so that restaurant was built like a fucking Ferrari. Because George built it, and Al Forno fame allowed...
The kitchen was fucking nice.
It still is, man. It's like... So, like, everything about that was built, customized, and so... Tiny restaurant. So, anyway, so... At the time, so he was trying to sell that restaurant, and my wife at the time, Heidi, she and I went into opening, and she was always front of house. I was back of house. It's like, you know, in Rhode Island, there's a lot of restaurants that have that dynamic.
Oh, for sure.
And... I don't know if I necessarily promote it anymore as a means. Like it's nice to be able to do it, but I think you need to again therapy, and you need to like realize there needs to be a balance.
There needs to be a balance, for sure.
So we opened Birch. I would say maybe 7 months after I left the Dorrance.
What year is this?
2000. Oh shit. 2007.
2007.
Yeah.
The year I graduated.
No, not 2007. Jesus Christ, no, that's way off. It was open for 7 years, so 2012.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, the year I graduated college was 2008.
I was just about to say 13 years, bro.
No, I mean still 7 years.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
So, and there was at the time like there were restaurants that did tasting menus on the side of their regular menus, which is very popular.
Yeah.
But there's never been that restaurant that did tasting menu. And there were, you know, at the time, like, there was, like, I just saw what, like, Chateaubriand was. And these restaurants that are, like, what was cool is, like, Birch coming along was also the time when smaller restaurants were overachieving and being, like, everything they learned in fine dining, but, like, just the food.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is, like, still, like, my favorite way to eat. Like, I love a very simple tasting menu that's not insane.
Yes.
I like something where I don't have to choose, and it's just kind of like laid out to me, but it's only 4 to 6 courses. And I think that's still one of my favorite ways to eat as far as when a restaurant is. There was never a restaurant, and here I go saying it's just like we're doing what restaurants aren't. But it was like this mentality of like, I know that at the time my ego couldn't do casual. You know, there was no way I could do something casual to build up to something that's quote-unquote fine dining. And so I opened Birch, and Birch was the perfect venue. It's 18 seats, U-shaped counter, and the chefs come out, and we bring out the food, and it was just like very much that like 7 years ago. Like nowadays it seems very kind of standard as a formula to do it, but like 7 years ago it was asking a lot. And, you know, we went through a couple of iterations of what the menu was. It started out as trying to be a restaurant that was for everybody. Like, I wanted to be an industry spot. I wanted to be a late-night spot. I wanted to be a family spot. And, you know, you try to please everyone as possible. You're going to please nobody.
Yeah.
You're only going to partially make them happy.
Exactly.
And so, like, that was a big reality check in the first 3 months where it's just kind of like people leave hungry.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was just like, well, you're stupid. Like, instead of like that being my problem, I think it was their problem. And then it was just like, well, sure. Like I had courses that I would have in a tasting menu as an a la carte option. And it's like, you know, I opened Birch when I was 26. And so like that's, or was it 26, 27? And like that's young. That's young to open up a restaurant. And there's a lot of ego that goes into that. And there's a lot of, you know, standing your ground for the sake of standing your ground.
Yeah.
And, you know, then we formatted to be a 4-course menu, and then the 4 courses with options within each course, but it was like you had to order 4 courses. And it was like that was our mini tasting menu kind of a thing. It's like, to me, that's not a fine dining tasting menu restaurant.
Yeah.
But we got labeled that, and we were a special occasion restaurant, which is tough in Rhode Island to be a special, especially like when you're right next door to our neighbor, which is Gracie's.
Yeah, Gracie's was killing it too at that time.
And that's a big special occasion restaurant. And they went to all the lengths to make it a special occasion.
Yeah.
And so that kept people coming back, whereas like ours was like, I think they wanted the feel of Gracie's with our food in our restaurant, but it wasn't. It was very pared down. I mean, you ate there.
Yeah.
But I loved it, and I loved everything about that restaurant, and I'm still bitter about it that it's not around anymore.
Yeah. What prompted the decision to close it down?
I mean, it was staring down the barrel.
Yeah.
Like, we were looking into having a pretty like, ours, like, we would have to build essentially a hockey rink style plexiglass around the bar.
What the fuck?
And, like, because, like, you couldn't because technically we're only bar seating.
Exactly, yeah.
And so, like, to build, like, this, like, cage of plexiglass around us and, like, have to serve, it was just like, this is, like...
this is not a bank.
And we had pivoted, and, like, that word is used so much, but we pivoted from, like, we were Birch in Oberlin for a little bit when the pandemic started to now Birch is a clam shack to, like, doing, like, burgers and, like, some other, like, very comfort food. And then it just got to the point where it's just like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how it was the easiest decision to make. It was hard, but it was easy.
Did you have a number of staff that you had to let go that have been with you for a while? Or?
Yeah, I mean, like, initially, yeah. Like, I had to, when the pandemic started and we shut down actually on my birthday.
What the fuck?
And that was that was insane. So it was my 35th birthday, and, like, I come in here and, like, you know, it wasn't like I made the decision. Like, it was a very democratic process.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
all my staff, we came together and it was like, what are you guys feeling?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not going to, like, if you guys all want to close, like, know that, like, that's fine by me.
We're going to do that, yeah.
And, like, I'm not going to force anything to happen. And so it was unanimous at that point that we would close because everyone was getting scared because we were getting busy as fuck leading up to it because I think everyone had smelled it. Everyone smelled the fact that, like, restaurants are going to close, so get in there now.
And I don't know, the beginning of 2020 had a buzz about it. Like,
I
felt like it was like everybody was like, "This is our fucking year. We're gonna get it." Like, everyone was super ambitious.
Yeah. I thought like we were busy. It was like, you're right, and, like, I guess, like, now looking back at it, like, our first 3 months were crazy.
Yeah,
they were great.
Yep.
And, like,
that doesn't happen.
No, not
fucking
in
Providence in the winter.
No.
Like,
no,
the
I
college
mean, Providence
students are
is
not spending money like that.
Well, you'd be surprised.
Oh,
you'd be surprised.
All right.
There's, like, this, like, we opened Oberlin, and, like, Oberlin was almost an immediate, like, cool, this place is, like, comforting. This is another like addition to the, like, people's weekly routines. But yeah, closing it on my birthday was just like, you know, like I said, like, we came together. It was like, we're shutting it down. So let's all clean. Let's all, like, get this all done. And then they brought me a cake, and it was, like, the most intense feeling of just, like, gratitude and sorrow at the same time, because, like, here I am, like, essentially I'm laying off all these people, which to me felt like I was firing them. None of them felt that way.
Yeah.
But, like, me as you know, as somebody that, like, you know, signs their paycheck and, like, they're not going to get that from me anymore. It was, like, really heavy, and, like, it was a really tough time to get over that, and, like, like, to have, like, here's your birthday cake.
Yeah.
It was, like, one of the craziest feelings. Yeah.
Wow. So, when does Oberlin come into all of this?
Yeah, so I guess year 3 at Birch was when this space became available.
Okay.
And
had you always wanted to open another space?
Definitely.
Did you want to move that into this, or were you like, this is something else?
This is something we always, like, it was Heidi, Ed, and I thinking about it, but it really was Ed and I. Because Ed needed to, like, at Oberlin, at Birch, when it was just Birch, was me and 2 other cooks.
Got you.
So for somebody to move up there is...
not fucking happening.
No, it's not happening.
Unless you want to own them.
Exactly. Exactly. So doing that, it was just kind of like, we're not going to be doing anything. Like, it's like, and so Ed at the point was just kind of like thinking about, he's, in retrospect, he was telling me he was thinking about leaving. But then this came a possibility of just like, here's an opportunity to have your own thing. And so that was very much the mentality going into it. It was the easiest menu to come up with. We knew exactly what Providence was lacking. And this is when the shift happened from we don't want to be this to knowing what we wanted to be.
Gotcha.
So we knew we wanted to have fresh pastas. We knew we wanted to have crudos because we knew that there was no place in Rhode Island where you could get this seafood that we use at Birch, which is like incredible quality.
Incredible, yeah.
And like nobody, you can get a plate of crudo for that. You couldn't get that, and like we missed that, and we also missed the fact that handmade pastas are like a lot of restaurants do really good pastas, but they don't have a pasta menu.
Gotcha. Okay.
So like you're going to go see Bo. Bo does incredible pastas.
Oh my god, yeah.
Always really, really solid. But nobody had like a dedicated menu of 5 to 6 to even 8 pastas.
Yeah.
And so we really wanted to have that, and we wanted them to be all handmade and all made in house. And just like, with tomatoes that we preserve. So there's during the winter when we use tomatoes, there are tomatoes that we canned or we preserved. And it was easy, and our menu format has never changed since, since we opened, which is, I think, was a big testament to like knowing what we want rather than knowing what we didn't want to be. So that was, and we opened with that, and it was insane ever since. We've done things where we've renovated the kitchen and renovated the basement, but it was like pretty much just been locked.
Yeah. Whoa, man. Crazy. So when you opened up, was it received well, or did you?
Yeah, I mean, like we knew we were going to get flack for the fact that our pasta portions weren't a pound each.
Okay, heard that. Yeah,
but
yeah, because you can go up to Fed Hill, and that's like
you can go somewhere else for that. And we wanted people to get 2 or 3 pastas and try them.
Okay.
And I don't have a lick of Italian in me. I'm Eastern European. I'm Slovakian, and
for sure.
I think we've only ever had one Italian American come through this kitchen. And so like there was all bits of when it came to owning my own were always self-taught in the sense of like, I didn't work I didn't have a mentor.
Yeah.
I didn't have somebody, I mean, a lot of people don't, but I didn't have that person that took me under their wing as somebody that would show me a style of cuisine.
Yeah.
There was none of that. So it was just always met with like, we would see something and be like, I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, how do you
and we'd
do
go
that?
from there. Like with our bread program, like it's like, how hard could it be to do 6 to 8 pastas as a menu? It's just like, it was fucking hard as shit, man. It was hard as shit to do. It's like, we can do it. I mean, we did it. We still do it.
At your prep space, I'm like, yo, all that out of here? That's crazy.
But you should see it. I mean, like we have there's a 14-foot counter that we make our pastas in. So like we have an extruder as well.
Morning. Oh, the extruder is
yeah, exactly. That extruder never shows up late. It doesn't get upset.
Exactly.
But so I guess going back to that, I don't want to I hate saying that like it was successful right off the bat because it wasn't. It was bumpy.
Yeah, for sure.
But like as far as like filling a niche, we did that.
Yeah,
we filled like that kind of need for somebody to have like a nice bar, and like it was the first time I ever had a bar, and like it was like nice for people to like come in, have a crudo, have a pasta, have a glass, and like kind of be on their way. And like I knew that there was something that you couldn't get elsewhere, especially in Rhode Island, maybe even New England, where it's just like our crudo menu is only from Rhode Island, some from Massachusetts.
Yeah,
that's a pretty big deal.
Fuck yeah.
And like I think that's a really big deal. Like we have whole fish, and it became like a seafood centric restaurant, but also pasta.
Yeah,
and yeah, all of it's from Rhode Island, and that's always been our key. That's hyper seasonal in that sense, which is why, like when I said I want to do citrus when I was out doing 12 days, it's because we don't have that shit here. It's
exactly.
Like we get lemons.
Yeah, I remember. You're like, give me the leaves, dry them.
Exactly. It's like this is insane.
I hear you, man. I'm like, I'm blessed. Where I live now, there's a lemon tree right outside. Biggest lemons, like as big as your head. And just like the leaves are like smell from the house. I'm just like, this is fucking awesome.
But also like 2 weeks after lemons is when you get your spring produce in. It's just like it's like fuck you guys.
California is fucking. I mean, sometimes you get a warm day in December and the asparagus will start to shoot up because it thinks it's spring. So there's a lot of like inter-seasonal food that happens, but So, what are your plans after? I mean, you're opening up, right?
I mean, I guess like to go back to like we with Oberlin, was like we were cooking and we had really talented cooks when we first opened. We still do, but like when we like hit it off off the bat. And we had already opened up a restaurant, and Ed and I knew what we required. Like we learned some shit from that. Yeah, something that I don't think a lot of people get to do. And we learned a lot, and we think we did. I mean, it was rocky. There was no, it was a ton of work, and it was, paying cooks less than I would have liked to, but that's because of how the budget went, and having them believe that that's going to change. Yeah. As soon as things get rolling. But then, we got in the top 10 for Bone App, and that it was just insane. And then we got in the Times with our review there, and that was insane.